What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another adventure here at the Outpost. In today's adventure, we are going through our most anticipated movies for the month of April. April looks to be a decently stacked month. Nothing too incredible. We got a couple really incredible movies coming out, but for the most part, looks like it's going to be another month like March with a lot of mid-tier movies that are going to end up just being somewhere in the 2 to 3 star range. Very little looks like it's going to be breaking that 4 and even 5-star barrier. We're still waiting. I've yet to see a movie this year that hits 5 stars for me. I'm always on the lookout every time we get into a new year to see how long it takes before I've seen my first 5-star movie. The Batman was close. The Batman was probably the closest we've come so far, but still didn't quite get there for me. So there might be one movie, I think, this month that may possibly do it, but we're going to have to wait and see. But without any further ado, let us dive right into this list, starting with the least most anticipated movie. I know that is a mouthful. Least most. That's not English. What are you saying? The least anticipated movie of April for me is very clearly Fantastic Beasts 3, The Secrets of Dumbledore, or Dumbledore's Secrets, or whatever the fuck it's called, that subtitle. Whatever you want to call it, it looks terrible. Getting rid of Johnny Depp, dumb. Absolutely silly. I get he's got a lot of controversy and all that stuff going on, but, you know, we're supposed to live in a world where you're innocent until proven guilty. But I guess in the court of social opinion, that doesn't mean dick these days. It will be interesting to see, though, if they have any sort of explanation for why he looks like Mads Mikkelsen now in this movie. I can see them just completely ignoring it and not even mentioning that it's now Mads Mikkelsen. They're just going to play it off that it's just the same guy the entire time. But I think that's the one interesting thing for the movie to me, is to see what they do with that, because everything else looks terrible. I mean, I love Jude Law, but it's just, he hasn't had really anything to do in these movies. And it doesn't really look like this one's going to add much more for him, even though it's called The Secrets of Dumbledore. This franchise has really just been all over the place, just doing backwards somersaults to retcon a lot of Harry Potter lore, while also just adding just nonsense to the lore in general. It's just been a mixed batch. They'll never be able to top the highs of the first one, but only portions. The first movie, the only good parts is when it was just a fun, silly little movie where Eddie Redmayne was just capturing magical creatures. That was the best part of the movie. Everything else, anytime they try to get serious or show Ezra Miller and all that other stuff, the movies have just been absolutely brutal, and I expect this one to continue that trend of being absolutely brutal. Up next is the movie Memory with Liam Neeson. I couldn't tell you anybody else because once I saw it was another Liam Neeson thriller, I didn't need to read any plot description or anything else. I knew exactly what type of movie I'm going to be getting into. It will be Liam Neeson versus the world. And he'll just be doing Liam Neeson things. We've already gotten one of those this year, Black Light. Actually, we might have gotten 2. I think, did he have one in January as well? I don't remember. Possibly. But for a man who consistently, since Taken 3, has said that he will be retiring from action movies, continues to keep putting out the same action thriller over and over and over again. Some have been okay, some have been pretty terrible. I expect this one to fall into the latter category and probably be absolutely terrible. Up next is our usual Easter religious movie, and it is Father Stew. I guess it just goes to show, like, sooner or later, everyone's going to get in on that religious movie. Mark Wahlberg jumping on the bandwagon now, making his Easter religious film. This movie looks bizarre. It's very weird that they have Mark Wahlberg in the role. It just seems such a step away from what he's normal. I mean, like, I guess you got to give him credit for trying to do something different. But it just looks like such a weird movie to have him be in. And the movie, it's just, the trailer is all over the place. It's like 2 halves. I don't know how it's going to gel together unless they're going to do like flashbacks and flash forwards, where it's just like they're telling both timelines of the story at the same time. Where like now he's the crippled religious preacher, and like it gives flashbacks to when he was this like delinquent. Because I feel like if it's just a regular linear story, it's going to be like really boring. Or at least the first half might be interesting because he's a bit of a douche, and then once he becomes a religious preacher, it might start to tank. I don't know. It just looks like a very strange movie. I mean, I'm always in for them because I love watching religious movies. I think they crack me up. I prefer more of the like literal biblical ones where like they go back and it's actually about Jesus, like movies like Risen, and stuff like that. These more like contemporary religious ones where it's like this, like I think Breakthrough was last year, where it's just like a family deals with a spiritual crisis and they're like, I believe in God. I'm not the biggest fan of those ones. I prefer the actual ones where like we're following biblical times and like they're just trying to like make a fictional story. Oh, I said fictional. Next up is the animated film The Bad Guys. I've yet to see a trailer for this. I've yet to even look at any of the plot description for it. I really only know about it because of the poster that is hanging up at my job, where it kind of looks like that episode of the Powerpuff Girls where like they had that like the Gangrene Gang. They were just like a bunch of like thugs running around like doing like silly shit. And that's what this movie looks like, because it shows them on the poster in like the car and it's just a bunch of different anthropomorphic animals. So that look like they just robbed a bank or something like that. So I imagine this is going to be like some really silly, just not up to par anime. Like this definitely looks like because animated movies are always great for the most part. Like there's very few animated movies that get released these days that are really just objectively terrible. This one though looks like it's going to be on like the more bottom tier though. Like it's definitely like you're not, Pixar's your high bar, then you got your DreamWorks Animation, then you got your Outliers, and then there's the Bad Guys, and then there's like the literal crap, which is like whatever Ice Age is coming out with these days. So this looks like it'll fall like somewhere in like that like middle to bottom heap in there, maybe like D plus style. But I mean, hey, we could be pleasantly surprised. I haven't seen a trailer or anything for it. I'm just going based off this poster. So hopefully it can give us a few surprises. Up next is a movie that actually came out today. It's actually one I'm going to watch as soon as I am done with this video, and that is Judd Apatow's movie The Bubble, coming out on Netflix. It is a movie about a bunch of actors trying to make a movie during COVID, and that already has me groaning. I was very tempted to put this all the way at the bottom simply because it was a movie about COVID, and I have gone on and on and on about how I do not want to see movies about the COVID, but it has a stacked cast. It's a comedy. So maybe they do some lampooning about COVID, which would be like that. I mean, like I still wouldn't be happy about it, but at least that's a little bit more manageable if they're taking the piss out of it instead of just trying to make like a really serious thing about COVID. So maybe it might get a few surprises there. I'm not expecting much. Judd Apatow can be very hit or miss, especially in the latter portion of his career now. We haven't really gotten a Knocked Up or a 40-Year-Old Virgin or Forgetting Sarah Marshall lately. So we're on the fence here. But it's got Karen Gillan, and I fucking love Karen Gillan. So I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm willing to go in with an open mind and give it a chance. And that is why it makes it this high up on this list. Up next is another movie that came out today. This is another one that I was very tempted to put all the way down at the bottom, but I have been waiting for it. Not that I've been waiting for it, but we've been seeing trailers for it for so fucking long that at this point, it's got to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. And honestly, it looks like it might be at first I thought it might be a little bit better than some of the rest of these movies that we've seen so far. But from reviews that have been coming out and everything, it looks like this movie, when I am going to be ranking all of my April scenes at the end of the month, seems like it's going to hit all the way down at the bottom. And that is the newest Marvel movie. Well, in association with Marvel, Morbius. This is a movie I was never particularly interested in seeing. I don't think we ever really needed an origin story or its own story for Morbius the vampire, just a random villain that Spider-Man would fight back in the day. But here we are, and it is acted by Jared Leto, a very interesting actor. I mean, he never phones it in. He always goes for broke. But it's one of those movies where it screams mid-2000s like superhero movie. Like I thought we were done making these kinds of movies. It just looks all over the place. The trailer looks all over the place. It doesn't help that we've been seeing the trailer for like 3 years now, so it's just like you just got no interest. I just want it to come out already so I don't have to see this fucking trailer ever again in my life. It's tough because watching the trailer, there is really nothing in it that really excites me or makes me really want to see it. The most that it is because we've just been waiting so long, and that there is the tiniest little thread of hope that like we might see one of the three Spider-Man in it. I don't think they're going to be in it, especially from the reviews that I've been seeing now. It seems like we have been pulled a fast one on us, and we're not going to get any of that. But I can't go off any of that yet. It can only go off the trailer. That's how we got to play this. And just from the 3 years of trailers, it hits here simply because it's just like you've been waiting so long. You have to see it at this point just to see how bad it is. So Morbius is hitting us right here in the middle of the pack. Up next is a movie that I believe is coming out on Hulu. I know it's a streaming movie. I just don't remember what streaming service. I'm pretty sure it's Hulu. But it is All the Old Knives, a thriller movie with Chris Pine and Thandie Newton. It is about, I believe, two ex-CIA agents that are meeting over a dinner to discuss one of their greatest blunders. And throughout them discussing and talking, it's clear that a lot of old information and secrets and stuff are going to come to light. And they end the nice premise with, it is clear that one of them will not survive. There's no trailer, or if there is, I haven't seen one or looked it up anywhere. I'm pretty much going off the basis that it's got Chris Pine and Thandie Newton, which two great actors. It looks like that sounds like a decent enough premise that I could give it a shot. Hopefully it's on the shorter side. Like if it turns out that's like 100-minute movie, like bam, that's perfect right there. Quick thriller, get in, get out, and shebang, it should be good. It seems like it's an interesting enough premise that it's got enough going on it, coupled with its actors, to hit this high for me. Like if you got an interesting premise just off reading it, I don't even need to see a trailer. Like you can hook me with words. I'm a word guy. I fucking love books, read shit all the time. I am sold immediately if you can hook me with a good like 3-sentence log line. I'm in, and this is one of those movies. Up next is another Chris Pine movie. This is one that I actually have seen a trailer for, and it is The Contractor. Chris Pine and Ben Foster are back together again since Hell or High Water. Fucking incredible movie. So I'm super excited to see this one already. This was another one I didn't even need, even before I saw the trailer, like I was in. I was like, Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and it's like another like crime thriller where like they are trying to get like some money to pay for some shit that they need in their lives because they're destitute. Fucking, I'm in. Let's go. It's pretty much just Hell or High Water again. I don't care. I'm fucking in. Let's do it. And then once the trailer came out, it looked like it shot well. Looks like it's got a really good cinematography to it. I am super excited for this movie now. I think it's going to be a really good one. I think there's another one that comes out this weekend. It might only be limited release though, because I can't find it anywhere to see on the island, which is kind of bumming me out. So hopefully it gets a wider release pretty soon, because it's a movie that I really would like to see in theaters. But now we're getting into the meat and potatoes. We're getting to the good stuff. The rest of these movies that we're going to go on, these are the movies that I am seriously excited to see. These are the ones that I'm hoping are the best for the month. And we're going to kick it off with the Netflix movie Metal Lords. I'm a huge heavy metal fan. I also love really dumb comedies. So when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was completely in. It is about two down on their luck nerd losers in high school that start a heavy metal band. And they want to win the Battle of the Bands, and they need a bassist, and the bassist is a cello player who's just like not a heavy metal person, but like one of the kids like wants her in because he's got a crush on her, and the drummer's like not it just looks like a really silly comedy that gives vibes of like School of Rock and like shit like that, but coupled with like the hilarious heavy metal aspect with like a Tenacious D or some shit like that. It looks like a super fun movie. I'm super excited to check it out. I'm always in for a dumb comedy, and I love heavy metal. So anytime you're throwing heavy metal in the mix, I'm fucking there. Up next, Nicolas Cage is back to be his most Nicolas Cagey yet, with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This is a movie that looks just like balls to the wall silly. It's one of those movies that I could see either going two ways. It's going to be like really tongue-in-cheek and silly and hit all those marks perfectly, where it's going to be a really fun, enjoyable, silly action comedy, or it's going to be super fucking bad and groan-inducing, where you're just like, yeah, I get it. He's Nicolas Cage. He was a lot of Nicolas Cage. Like, I feel like it's going to be a very fine line to draw between being too Nicolas Cagey and respecting the Nicolas Cagey that he's like. I don't know. It's a movie that it's just like, I feel like there's going to be no middle ground. Like, it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. I'm holding out hope that it's going to be really good, simply because I do love Nicolas Cage. I love Pedro Pascal. I think it has a very silly, interesting premise behind it. And it's one of those ones where I'm hoping the execution is able to match the trailer and the idea. Dropping in at number 3 is the sequel to the 2020 smash hit, a movie I didn't think anybody would actually really enjoy, especially when we saw the first design of the character, and that is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I never thought in my wildest days we would get to a month where I would say Sonic the Hedgehog was my third most anticipated movie of a month. But here we are. They have found a way to make a really good, enjoyable family movie out of Sonic. The first Sonic was super enjoyable. It towed the line perfectly. It was exactly what you want from just like a fun family movie. It was a good setup, a good origin story to get into that world. They definitely knocked it out of the park there, and the redesign was perfect. And now it looks great that in this one they're just going balls to the wall with diving into all that insane Sonic lore. With Sonic Tails and Knuckles, the emeralds and all that shit. Like, it just looks like this looks like the movie where it's like the first one was all set up and now we're about to get into our like fun and games. Like, now we're going to have some fun. So I'm super excited for this movie. Jim Carrey it's a fucking legend. He will always hit the mark for me. He's a fucking absolute gem. And he looks like he's going to be chewing some really good scenery in this movie. So I am super excited. Coming in at number 2, with another director that I never would have thought I'd say, like, here's a month and he's my number 2 most anticipated movie. And that is Michael Bay's Ambulance. This movie looks absolutely wild. I fucking love Jake Gyllenhaal. Yaya. I don't want to mispronounce his last name and butcher it, so I'm just going to go with Yaya. He's also another fucking really phenomenal actor. Even though I didn't like Candyman, I thought he was really good in it. And he was great as Manta and Aquaman. He's definitely carving out a really good career for him, and he looks to add another belt on the old resume with this movie. This looks like it's just going to be a fun, balls-to-the-wall action movie. And we need just a good old-style action movie. And nobody's going to bring that to you better than Michael Bay. Like, we just need a good movie. We're going to blow some shit up. And Michael Bay is here to blow some shit up. Like, there's like a scene in the trailer where like the ambulance just drives through 2 cars, like 2 police cars, and the 2 police cars like fly out like that, but then all the cars around them just start exploding, and it's just like, what? That's that's not how things explode. But I don't give a shit because I'm just here to see shit explode. So it just looks so hilarious. Like, I'm super excited. So couple with your insane Michael Bay action, and then you got Jake Gyllenhaal on top of that chewing some scenery, like, sold. I'm in. Let's do it. I can't wait. Next week cannot come soon enough. But there can only be one, and I think this is a movie that any person who's really into movies and really follows movies and watches as much as they can, I think this will be everyone's number 1, and that is Robert Eggers' The Northman. This movie looks fucking amazing. I cannot freaking wait for it. It's funny because when I saw the trailer, like the first minute and a half of the trailer, I was just like, did they just play Assassin's Creed Valhalla and just be like, let's just make this? And even if that is the case, fucking incredible. Do it, because that's awesome. Because that fucking game is fantastic. So to see so much of that in this trailer is like really got me going. I haven't seen, I saw, he did The Lighthouse, right? Why am I asking you guys? You're not going to answer me. I think he did The Lighthouse. I didn't see The Witch. I know he did The Witch. I didn't see that yet. I got to see that. I'm pretty sure he did The Lighthouse. I saw The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is awesome. So I'm expecting great things from this one as well. This looks probably like his most mainstream movie. Like, his other 2 movies are very bizarre. Which isn't to say that this movie won't also be bizarre. Like, I feel like once you get into like that Viking lore and shit, like, I feel like he can definitely make this movie super fucking bizarre at times. But just from the trailer alone, it feels like the most mainstream accessible movie of his. So I think that might go a long way to getting some really good box office receipts on that. But regardless, whether it gets bizarre or whether it stays mainstream or whatever it does, this movie looks like a fucking wild ride, and I cannot wait for it. April 22nd cannot come soon enough. And that is my list. April is going to be a very interesting month. Most, with the exception, I think, of like 4 or 5 movies that look like they'll be really good. The rest is just going to be mids, baby. It's going to be a lot of middle tiers. But that happens. We're in that time of the year where you're getting a lot of midding movies that are just not very exciting. They're just like, yeah, that's a movie I've seen. And then you get a few gems sprinkled in there. But we're getting close. We're getting closer to the summer movie season. And even though I usually hate most of the movies that come out in the summer, it's at least a time where the weather is good, the drinks are fine, and you're catching some good summer blockbusters. Even though like a lot of them leave a lot to be desired, there is something to be said for those days where you're coming home from a long day out in the sun. You just kick back in the movie theater, nice cool movie theater with your buddies, your girlfriend, whoever, and you just catch like a good entertaining movie. Nothing will ever beat that enjoyment. And I'm super excited to hope that some movies this summer give us that value and give us that good bang for our buck. But until we get to those months, we must stick here in April. And I will see you back again at the end of the month when we rank up all of the movies that we end up seeing for the month of April. But until those videos, you have been you, I have been me. There are no movies behind us, but we'll just imagine they're there because we're down in a different nook today because the dog must be maintained and watched at all times. But until next time, adventure on.